Welcome back to some professional Starcraft 2 from IEM Katowice 2021, the quarterfinals, a rematch of BlizzCon 2019. Cyril was looking to repeat his success, but this man in the top left, a man who, by all definitions, until near to that BlizzCon, would not be legally defined as such because he's so young, but the Italian with more APM than the Bronze League, all of the Bronze League combined. The micro and the macro that you need to go all the way. It is Reynor. And in the bottom right, the man who plays the game his way. He doesn't abide. He defines the meta. He redefines it for everyone else. He has always had a way about him that essentially just ends in winning. The 2019 World Champion, still a favorite in most matches he shows up in. The man, the myth, the legend, it's Dark. And I was lucky enough to have all those 90 seconds to introduce the players because while this is a knife fight in a phone booth, while this is Zerg versus Zerg, a matchup that for many years was known for Zerglings and Banelings getting up close and possibly too personal. Nowadays, especially at this level, at the world class, it is a little more macro-oriented. It's significantly less possible to just outright kill your opponent with Lings and Banes because players aren't going to make a mistake. A lot of the time, you'll barely see any Ling Bane action. Now, I'm not saying you won't, but like, it isn't nearly as much of the menu of early game builds, just because players have gotten so good at controlling those units that it no longer just you're sacrificing too much potential economy to try to get damage done that isn't going to be dealt. So if you're going to do a Ling Bane build, you need to mask it, or hide it, or pray. Maybe some combination of the three. But right now, both players off to a relatively standard start. We got 3 hatches. We got Zergling speed. We got queens. What else do you want? Reynor, a big believer in the hashtag Yas Queens movement. Whenever you need defense, whenever you need offense, you got queens. Something that costs minerals. Okay, I don't need to advertise queens. We'll see plenty. We'll hold off. Baneling Nest. It is a mirror matchup. The Baneling Nest is mostly in case your opponent decides to go for the Zergling Baneling. We'll see the back and forth. Zerg production is significantly different from the other races in that you don't increment out workers, but your workers and your army production is shared between the larvae. Like a larva, when a larva spawns, whether it's from a larva inject or from a hatchery, we don't judge. It could become a drone or it could become anything else. And not taking into account the personal preferences of said larva, which is unlikely to have them. That does affect your economy overall. So every set of Zerglings made, every roach is, instead of being a drone, is not a drone. I say, wow, I really broke that down. You're welcome. We're here for my great math skills and build orders. So the evolution chamber, which was originally used as a slight wall for Reynor, he canceled it. Dark is now building his own for similar reasons. Both players do have a Baneling Nest. They're using it as part of the front. So I don't think either. Well, is that a 4th hat? Is that legal? Is he allowed to do that? He's just taking a 4th hatch. Everybody just kind of eventually building Evo chambers. Okay. So he just builds a 4th hatchery. I guess he is correctly determined that Dark is less capable of being aggressive, at least early on. The evolution chamber is done, and it is upgraded. I believe Reynor, well, he's taking a look. He's going to see it. He's going to get in. Cyril taught him this move. Somehow getting Zerglings into the base. I don't understand how players do it, but there you go. He got in. He saw the lair was done. He saw an evolution chamber was upgrading. He didn't see much more than that. He didn't see in the back a Roach Warren. He didn't see the 2 Gas Geysers. He didn't see the potential Spire, but he knows the options on the table. Reynor has his own lair on the way. He's got 56 drones, and this is kind of what I was talking about when I say there's not really that Ling-Bane phase. They both have the Lings, they have the Baneling Nest, but neither is willing to take the risk of going for Lings and Banes only to get it shut down with half their number and allowing their opponent... Oh, Dark just sidesteps, gets in. The lair isn't... Well, the lair is now done. Roach speed is not started. The Spire is everything here for Dark. He needs to keep Reynor in the dark about this. 4 queens on the way. I think Reynor smells shenanigans afoot. He smells the mutas. European Zerg. So, just to point it out, historically, did he see the Spire? No, but he smells it. And that's what's important. The stench of mutalisks. And a Spire is pervasive and pretty obvious when nothing's happening for this long. So, European Zergs have been Reynor and Cyril specifically, but many other Zerg players. Elazer, Nurchio in the past, and Lambo. I'm blanking on more, especially Lambo nowadays, coaching Reynor. There's been a lot of high-level ZVZ. For a while, Europeans were considered to be better, just overall at ZVZ, than Korean Zergs, which were much lower in number. That might still be true. I mean, we're here, so let's find out. The Mutas, they're out. There are already Hydras and a bunch of Queens. I don't think... Yeah, Dark is not by any means relying on the Mutalisks to get the damage done. Reynor already has Queens. He's got a knitting crew to go around and sew up any defenses he needs. Just 6 Mutas so far. Reynor has 80 drones in ZVZ. You're not supposed to be able to do that. It's in any mirror matchup, even TVT. The worker count usually limited to closer to 70 at max. Just because if your opponent has the same units as you, or potentially having 10 more supply could decide the whole match. But Reynor says, I don't care. I'm getting 82 drones. I'm going lurkers. I'm getting a hive. He's building spine crawlers in the face of Mutas because he knows the Mutas aren't the real threat. A few Banelings sneaking into the third. Reynor, despite... Oh, he's only at 450 APM, slacking off this game. Dark has a Nidus on the way. And as long as he doesn't have Nidus connectivity issues, then this could be dangerous. Well, you know what dangerous is? The darkness. He does not see it. I want to go to the Reynor action cam when the Nidus screams. Ah! Reynor should say, surprise! Completely unaware. Dark just finds a way. He slips in. The thing, Reynor was prepared for ground. He was prepared for air, but he wasn't prepared for a bunch of roaches and ravagers in his main. Another Nidus. And while this might not be the critical, he just slaps one down right in the center. The Queen's trying to deal with it. The Muta's giving him vision wherever he needs. Dark opens up a whole new front. One that Reynor was just not prepared for. It's in Reynor's main. There is detection. There is the Overseer for now. That could be targeted. More Niduses. He's overwhelming. He's Zerging Reynor, who, believe it or not, also a Zerg. But Reynor's holding strongly. He's taken more than his fair share of roaches and ravagers. Another Nidus at the natural, but Reynor's starting to clean this up pretty well here. Right now, Dark has lost significantly more in both gas and minerals. The supply reflects that as well. And Reynor has a better unit composition. He's down to the 72 workers we're more used to seeing. He's got lurker upgrades on the way. He's already got the hive done. So Dark poked and prodded, did some damage. And he definitely caught Reynor by surprise. But Reynor took it all in stride. He ended up chewing off more units than Dark, despite not realizing there were multiple Niduses in his main. And, well, now Reynor just has better units. 2 Mutas. Even if they were... 2 Mutas with maxed out upgrades wouldn't be anything. 2 Mutas, you know what they are good at? Getting vision for Nidus Worms. I'll give Dark that. You win this round, Dark. But we'll see if he wins the game. strong move. Each night, it's not free. It's not too costly. About the cost of, well, it's like $75.75, right? I might. It's been changed a couple times. Pretty sure it's $75.75. When it got nerfed a little bit, people kind of stopped using it, but here we are. The lurkers. Wow, that's a terrible angle. Reynor gifting Dark a solid fight. Not enough lurkers to just shred the roaches, and Dark will take his gift and thank him for it by returning the favor. Sending a bunch of roaches and ravagers across. Reynor's down to 1 lurker, which is not as many lurkers as you'd like to have when your upgrades are finishing. Reynor getting a little ahead of himself there. The ravagers could be caught out. Indeed they are. Both players kind of a little ambitious with their positioning. Dark with half health roaches fighting into a concave of Roach Hydra. Both at 2-2. More roaches come at an awkward angle, and Dark push back for now. Reynor's maxed out. He's had a better economy for most of the match. We're only 11 minutes in, remember. A lurker finds its way scampering in to the 4th base or 3rd base of Dark. It doesn't really matter which at this point. But here come a few more. Meanwhile, more roaches on the right side. Dark gonna handle it. Dark deflecting. But Reynor is closing in with the lurkers. Dark doesn't have the hive. This fight not going incredibly, really for either side. I think it's worse for Dark, though, as he needs to be taking good fights. He's down 30 supply. Reynor outclassing him on every front. Roaches and Ravagers hunted. Pincered. The lurkers will die. Dark should have more here, but there are a few Hydras, which add a lot of damage. And Corrosive Biles aren't really landing. Dark able to get through the lines. Reynor stumbling into the fight a little bit. He finishes +3, but Dark's at +2, +1. Dark getting his own lurker done. He's somehow down still 50 supply. Roaches targeted. A little more Roach Hydra. Dark's base going to be taken out. Oh, Reynor is mining from a fresh one of his own. So Dark is... He's tried to escape. He's tried to counterattack. He's tried to flank. But eventually now he's kind of bottled up in his base. Against Reynor, who has more workers with better upgrades and a better unit composition. So as long as Reynor doesn't take too terrible of fights, it's not going to get any better for Dark. Dark has tried to wiggle his way out of this one. Corrosive Biles landing. A lurker coming in will be shut down. Dark still has an Overseer. But it's the options are nearly eliminated. As Reynor, he's ready for a Nidus in the main. He is constantly sending units in all sides. Dark's Overlords have been pushed back. Dark has no vision. Reynor isn't like, well, Overlords have been suffering in this game for sure. Some more lurkers. Full energy queens. Stumbling off a creep. Waiting for their moment. Reynor's maxed out. There's no reason not to attack. And attack. And attack. As long as you're trading somewhat well. It doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to trade better. He just has to trade at all. Like, honestly, at this point, almost 2-to-1 would be fine. As long as he whittles Dark down and keeps him from ever maxing out again. More lurkers. Oh, that's pretty nasty positioning. There could be Blinding Cloud. He's not even committing to it. Yanks a couple lurkers. He held on to the energy. Dark tried lurkers of his own. Reynor says, not on my watch. And Reynor off to a comfortable, decisive 1-0 lead. That was a strong win. In every phase of the game. At no point did it really look like Dark was... The Nidus seemed like it'd be a thing. The Nidus seemed like it would turn the game around, but instead it fed into Reynor's economy. Reynor kind of like you just went 4 bases. You're not supposed to go. That's not so. You don't do that. You don't just build a 4th. But here we are. Here we are. I don't think we'll see quite a passive game like that again. That was the... nobody wants to commit. Players of this caliber, you'll usually see a pretty chill game. With some notable exceptions. Dark historically has been one of those exceptions. It was kind of almost a meme, but a legitimate strategy of like, whenever a foreign player came to Korea, what would happen in their first like real match, whether it's GSL or usually GSL, would be the Koreans would cheese the shit out of them. And probably win, if not, especially in game one, but in their first series. And it would usually work, because many of these foreign players coming in like practicing their full game, right? Like, they're ready to take on, say, Dark. Dark was a big offender here. And they're ready to play a full 15 minutes, and then Dark comes in with a 12 pool. And while he might not win, now Dark just came in with a 12 pool. So, that's on the table. Reynor is a real challenge, though. I don't think, especially, there's not a large number, but there's a strong single-digit number of non-Korean players who can compete with the best, who can compete with Dark, as we just saw. Obviously, there's one player who's won a game in this match. You got your Serals, and on a good day, Clem, Showtime, Special, Scott, like, it depends sometimes on the day and on the tournament. But it's no longer the David versus Goliath story that we once had. For better or worse. With that said, though, that doesn't mean Dark was, like, holding back. No. I think Dark realizes that playing an early game match might be Reynor's strength. Because, Reynor is very big at all stages of the game, but he's very micro-oriented, even for a Zerg. Dark, I would say Dark's strength is in timing. Not okay, you can't just say that. That's like the oldest caster thing. It's like, it's a timing attack. Well, he attacked, and there is a time that he attacked at. No. What I mean is, he decides the timings. Even that last game, he decided the timings. He's like, I'm going for Mutus, and now I'm going for Nidus. He led the game. Reynor ended up winning, but it was almost all a reaction to what Dark was doing. And that's what Dark defines. Like, he makes the game his game, for better or worse. And he's one of the best at it. Like, I'm reminded as well, like, you should go check it out if you didn't. A series against TY pretty recently, I think GSL of last season, where he's just like, no. 3 base, I'm going to have less economy than a Terran. I'm going to go Lurkers. I'm going to sit on Lurkers. I'm a turtle on Lurkers like I'm a turtle Terran, except I'm a Zerg. I'm going to have 60 drones and come and kill me. And it ended up working several times. And then TY figured out how to build Liberators. But it was unique, it was new, and it was very Dark. And he's had success with that style. It's a little harder to be super original in a mirror matchup. Like, because anything you do can and will be used against you. Depending on how good it is or the situation. But Reynor this time is dipping his toe into the evolution chamber. If you would. And then it coming out entirely changed. Oh, what is that? Is that a Psyblade on your foot? How did that happen? Ask Abathar. Or don't. Maybe he doesn't like to talk, but he's got a foot thing. But not like that, though. Anyways. +1 on the way. Reynor lining up for the most generic +1 speed roach timing you possibly could. Whereas Dark, I think, is faking one. Why would you start +1 melee? Aha! For Mutas! Yet again. Yeah. He's getting a Roach Horn. He's starting the upgrade. He might even finish the upgrade. But we got a little bit of role reversal here. Lair. Dark gonna be happy to see a lair not yet done. And this time, the stench of Mutas, I don't think, will be as strong To be honest, like, we haven't even bothered very much with the Ling Bang. We've barely even pretended they're there. One or two little scouts. A Zergling occasionally will come in. Those two gases are suspicious. Huh. Those two gases are real suspicious. Usually, yeah, Reynor has his gases too, but he's also going mutas. They both dark up to a nice amount of drones. He's at 69 drones. Just redonkulous. Reynor, I don't think, is as suspicious as he should be right now. Obviously, as he's not building the 4 queens he was last time. The Lings? Come on. Okay, you gotta know now. Like, there's no roaches. The roach horn wasn't upgrading. Come on, Reynor. Reynor has to know now. He might just... There's no advantages for Reynor besides the Zerglings he's already built. The Overseer gets in just in time for the mutas to pop out. He gets the 4th. It will be denied for now. The Overseer, well, I mean, you know what gives away the mutas? Is the mutas. That's how you know, 100%. Like, if you're not sure, and then you get attacked by mutas, it's very likely they've gone mutas. You can take that one to the mineral bank. Reynor. Ooh. Corruptors. Interesting choice it is. I mean, kind of screwed he may be. Thank you, Yoda. But while Corruptors can counter the mutas, the problem is they don't actually do very great at all. If the mutas are already higher in number than the Corruptors, then they can just kind of outrun them. And this is going to be Reynor stuck on 3 bases. Against Dark, who just... I don't know if he'll say it's close. It's going to be a liability for a while. But he lost a lot of Zerglings to kind of hurt the hedge. Oh, here come the Corruptors to finish the job. Or not. Mutas in a high enough number can just win the fight against the Corruptors. Corruptors are also more expensive. They're 150-100 against 100-100. So not only are they faster, one-on-one the Corruptor will beat a Muta. I mean, just what? We'll see what happens. But is +1 done? The upgrades are going to be important. Spore Crawlers getting involved. We'll get there! We're almost there! Oh. Okay. So Reynor pushing the issue. Transfuse Brenda getting involved. The hatch will likely go down. The Muta versus Corruptor dance begins. Target fire pretty important to actually take the mutas down. The mutas chasing Corruptors. Who has any idea what's happening right now? I have no idea how this ends. Is this enough? Like, Reynor's fighting. He got the base, which is important. But it looks like the Corruptors are losing. And Dark, like, it's 20 mutas to 9 Corruptors. So if it was in doubt before, he's really trying to work the Corruptors. And he can't get too far out, and the mutas are going to jump him. Not really jump, just fly faster as they do, but metaphorically. Dark just gonna... He already had another base on the way, understanding it's very likely that other base would go down. The Rich Vespine. So, what has Reynor gained with that? What is the plan? He's getting an infestation pit. Vipers, infestors, both options. They're the best options he has. It's a very limited selection right now. If he can get a couple fungals, get the Corruptors in the right spot with enough of them, okay, maybe. He doesn't have that many bases for gas, though. He's kind of splitting it on between upgrades, like he's getting a hive, he's building Corruptors. Roaches cost gas, too, unfortunately. Not much, but enough to cut into anything else. So Dark in a reversal from... Well, Dark in both games so far, in control of the match. Reynor is just kind of reacting to what Dark is doing. Unfortunately for Reynor, this time around, that means Dark is significantly ahead. As long as Dark doesn't wait too long to use his Muta advantage and all these extra bases. As long as he doesn't let Reynor actually get, like, Vipers or something. Then Yeah, he's bleeding off Corruptors. Especially once you get the Rich Vespine Geyser. Oh my god, the amount of gas. He's sitting on 15 mutas a minute, 16 mutas a minute in gas. And yes, that's how we count now. It's relevant. Meanwhile, Zergling's trying to come in. Reynor bleeding out drones. 4 Vipers on the way. The Hail Mary for Reynor. Spore Crawler taken out. Queens assassinated. Those Vipers couldn't come soon enough. And even when they do, the Corruptors might all be dead. The base itself, he's just fighting. The Spore Crawler's dead. No, the Spore Crawler got a lot of damage in. But does it matter? Viper's gonna draw energy out of the hive. It's already too late, though. Viper targeted down. He's now notified Vipers exist. Even if Reynor killed all these mutas right now, which, for nothing, effectively. Oh, does he even have enough for parasitic? Oh, no. Oh, well, does it matter, though? Not really. Well, Dark. A strong return in Game 2. Dark not gonna get pushed around by this little Italian kid. No! Not this time. He just gets the mutas faster. Reynor forced to try to play catch up. And Dark makes him into mustard. Or something like that. That joke sounded better in my head. No, it didn't. I don't think beforehand. Don't think. Do. That's the Zerg motto. And unironically, the caster one. One to one. Well, those matches, it really feels like Dark decides how the match is going to go. Reynor is also there, waiting to see what Dark is going to do. Unfortunately, that time, he wasn't able to pick up on... Maybe he was upwind of the Spire. That was the problem. He couldn't smell the mutas. A classic problem. It seemed like Reynor probably knew there was a Spire, but he didn't realize how quick it was. I think that's more likely than thinking there's no Spire at all. It's just he didn't expect to have to deal with mutas already out by the time his Spire finished. Because if Reynor's close enough in terms of Spire timings, then you can kind of... It's difficult, but you can kind of work out mutas yourself. Comes down to Zergling counterattacks, which Reynor is incredible. Like, that was what the first thing Reynor was known for. The first thing anyone talked about before he actually was worth talking about, and by that I mean was old enough to participate in WCS, was his counterattacks. How he always got Zerglings in place that Zerglings shouldn't be. And that has not stopped. It's just he's built a whole rest of the game around it. We'll see if it's enough. He's only gotten better. Especially in ZVZ. All that training, all those matches against Cyril have trained him. And literally against Dark as well, on the biggest stages. A couple queens on the way. We're back, like, hatch first again. I wonder if we'll get any early pulls. Maybe some drone pulls. We've already, we're at best 2 more chances after this. Assuming there's no draw, in which case we'll play another match again. So, I mean, it'd be... I don't know if I've ever seen a draw in Zerg versus Zerg. I've seen draws without Terran, like the most draws, which are exceedingly rare. 1 in 5,000 games, maybe. And over half of those are Terrans floating their buildings indefinitely somehow. Which is still incredibly dramatic, but the most obvious way. I've seen the occasional draw in Protoss versus Zerg, where you got like spine crawlers running around the map off a creep, And that's your buildings, which is the saddest version of floating your buildings. Oh, Dark. Now, this is the most suspicious thing. Like, Red is so sus right now. Because, Reynor! Ah! Brenda and Karen. Get him. Get him. Get him. Yeah. Nicely done. Murder! Like, the most... Reynor's now building lanes. Because when you send 2 queens out with energy like that to kill an overlord, you're essentially saying, I'm going to all-in you. But Dark, with the ultimate counter meta, is not actually all-inning Reynor. But since Reynor thought Dark was going to all-in, Reynor built a bunch of units. And now Dark, who thought Reynor would think that he was all-inning, was not prepared because he didn't all-in. So when Reynor built a bunch of units, Dark didn't have any units because he was trying to go too many levels deep in the mind game. No, Reynor did the most obvious thing you do when your overlord gets killed by queens, which is just built Zerglings. And Dark is like, oh my god, I can't believe it. He built Zerglings when I made it look like it was a Zergling all-in. So now Dark lost his third and Reynor has one. So that, I think Dark kind of outplayed himself a little bit right there. It really seemed like he did not expect Reynor to build Lings in the most obvious scenario to build Lings. So now we're here. Like, at some point, you're just countering yourself, and that's where Dark ended up. Oh, the Baneling lives. It needs to die a more glorious death. Which is very important for Banelings. If their death is not glorious, they do not go to Baneling Hala, where they will, every day, they wake up and then poof, explode. And that's their whole day. And then they do it again, and then they burrow until the next day. That Baneling not going to Baneling Hala. Unfortunately. Those Banelings. There you go. You're in. Not you, though. I told you, Greg. You should have trained more. Greg never really put a lot of effort in. Classic Greg. Meanwhile, Dark is very slowly and meticulously bringing more. Oh, Baneling finds a few. So there are 6 Banelings, but they have nothing to hit. So they just... Nope, well... Purgatory it is! Coming back for the Zerglings. There aren't any juicy enough targets. There just aren't enough drones. Okay. So this is weird. So Reynor doesn't have that much. He's going to lose a lot of drones to Zerglings, where the Banelings are acting as force fields. So now, Dark just has a bunch of Zerglings, which was bound to happen after Reynor. Oh, that Baneling doing way too much damage. Oh, roaches are out. So that's... Everybody... Things are escalating slightly. So at the end of this, Reynor is left still with one more drone. Because there's the seesaw back and forth in the drone count. Except for the first time in this series, they're actually killing each other's economy. In the early game, to an extent. So Dark will seesaw back into the economic lead slightly, but it does come down to when and where you're building your drones. One Zergling comes back, gets another drone kill. Reynor will have speed a little quicker and +1 about the same time. So there shouldn't be any window for Reynor to get damage done, unless, of course, he just has way more roaches, which at this rate might be the case. Because Dark has gone up to 55 drones with 6 more in the mail. He's got +2 started immediately. This is a lot of stuff that isn't roaches. It's a lot of stuff that isn't roaches here. So Reynor now has 25 roaches to 13, which, that's more. So... Now, the thing is, Dark has plenty of time to see this coming, and Reynor didn't have speed done when he first sent the roaches out, which is not an accident. He wants to get them there as soon as possible, which means even going without speed, because speed's going to finish. Dark has enough roaches now to defend. Like, the numbers are close enough, especially with a few queens with the spine crawler. The upgrades are even. Zerglings in the main, Zerglings in the natural. And Reynor rebuffed. Wow. Dark just swept the leg there. This is a disaster for Reynor. He got slapped down at the front. He has to try to make something happen with less roaches. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Dark with another great choice of Spire. Third time's the charm. I mean, second time was also the charm. But this is how you seal the deal. It is the perfect timing for a Spire. Because he knows he has an economic lead. He knows he's not going to die to roaches. He has enough roaches, but he might not have enough roaches to go across the map, right? He doesn't want to risk it on just trying to shove his way in with roaches. No. You still threaten. And now it doesn't matter if Reynor smells the mutas. It doesn't matter if he sees the Spire, because Reynor has lost the ability to actually deal with it. Because while he might be able to deal with the roaches, and I want to point out, I'm only noticing now, but I want to point out Dark canceled his +2 attack to make sure he had enough roaches to defend. So that means his +2 is going to be a little later, but that's a great choice there. And it was pretty thin. 4 or 5 less roaches, and maybe we'd be looking at a slightly different game. Where maybe Reynor's able to break through. So, a smart call there. Dark does, from our perspective, with the Spire finishing, that is such an obvious, half-hearted attack. But Reynor was so thin on the roach count, he had to respect it. He had to make roaches, and he had to worry about it. So now, right as the mutas come out, is when Dark will already have... when Reynor is attacking, right when Reynor is at the strongest he's going to get for the rest of this game. Mutas show up, and Reynor, he's trying to hit mutas. I mean, Reynor doing what he can. He's trying to take a fight here. Upgrades or even Spine Crawlers making things difficult. GG. He sees everything's going wrong. There's no turning this one around. Dark, well, he got caught off guard by his own mind games. Took control of the rest of the game. And he didn't let go. And that puts him on match point. Now is the perfect time for a 12 pull. Wouldn't you say, Dark? He's building a drone, ruining my dreams. We will see. It's just going to be so boring. You guys. I thought, man, what has happened? All of the dramatic cheese and the crazy all-ins have gone to PvP. Both from TVT and ZVZ. No more crazy timing. Oh, there's Reynor with a pull first. But not even a cheesy pull. This is I think you're going to 12 pull me pull first. This is I'm ready for you if you 12 pull me, but otherwise I just want a hatchery pull. About as late as you're going to get it without having a hatchery. So, I guess PvP has sucked in every bit of cheesiness. As none of these builds, 4 games now, and this is the closest we've gotten. There's been some hints and some opportunities, but even building the spawning pool on the edge of the creep, is this supposed to be... Originally, this was started in TVP or TVZ or Zerg versus Terran and Protoss, to see things like drops and Warp Prism all-ins and all that. You get a little more vision, and it's better for Marines or Zealots to kill a spawning pool than to kill all your drones. Takes a little longer as well. That was part of the thought process, as well as seeing it. But Dark's no. Because occasionally, you'll have the spawning pool near your mineral line to potentially be a literal blocker against Zerglings, against early all-ins. But Dark doesn't really care. Reynor slips a few Zerglings out. Dark's about to know based on the timing of the hatchery. I think Dark can do the math. He gets in, he sees, huh, that hatchery's not done, and my hatchery's done. I wonder what it... No, he doesn't wonder what happened. He immediately knows what happened. He's already got 4 Zerglings on the way. He should be ready for this. Though Reynor does get a few nibbles off on one of the Zerglings. He kills a drone. That's more than I thought it would do. I think Reynor's happy already. Like, you've kind of thrown Dark off. Surprising that he got anything. And I think he'll be happy to get in and get out with that. The Zergling speeds are about the same time. Baneling nests at identical times. Third base. Reynor going to be a little quicker. Dark has the minerals. He just needs to clear the Zerglings out. Wait, what? Reynor just won. Okay. 4 Zerglings entered. Reynor ends with 2. He's now adding a few more. And by that I mean 10. Like, a lot of the Zerglings. This is a lot of Zerglings. This is... He's got aggressive intentions here. I like this. Making a couple... Oh, Dark sees it. Dark now has a little more realization. On top of all the Zerglings coming out. Okay, the Zerglings on the 3rd. Remember, Dark has 30 drones during the... He loses 4. I can't believe he lost any drones to the Banelings he already scouted. But he did. Reynor not going to lose drones to Banelings on the other side. So 4 drones. Another small but important victory for Reynor. Because Reynor is the aggressor. It's a little harder to get damage done. Obviously, you don't have queens to help attack. If you're not trying very hard. But Reynor is able to slip in some damage from a couple different angles. And Dark, where Dark usually looks like he's the one controlling the game, Reynor now is most definitely the one making the decisions. He's leading this match. Maybe not necessarily very much in supply or in the state of the game, but in who's responding to whom. Or who be the cheeser and who be the macro player. That's how they say it. That's how it is said. A roach runs on the way for Reynor. Dark was goaded and obliged to make this many Zerglings. So now he's got to do something with them. A couple more Banelings coming in. Reynor quick on the draw. Reynor's got a Baneling of his own. More Banelings coming out. A bit of a mess here. The Queen in front. Reynor with the counter Banes. More Banelings trickling in. Reynor fortuitously getting 1 Zergling. Oh, watch out, watch out! Oh, that Baneling finds a decent connection. It's not entirely clear what's happening. The Baneling slipping into the mineral line. Another one. Finds some damage, but the rest of the drones mostly badly bruised, but not dead, which is important. A bit hectic. A bit messy. But overall, Reynor avoids critical damage and maintains a drone lead over Dark. One thing is, though, Reynor does not have a lair started yet. Dark started his about 30 seconds ago. He's got +1 melee finishing, but in an awkward and somewhat odd turn of events, +1 carapace for Reynor, investing in that more multi-purpose upgrade. That means his Zerglings will no longer get one shot by Banelings. Yeah, it'll leave the Lings at very little HP, but just 1 Zergling being able to eat 2 Banelings is huge, on top of the fact that Roaches also benefit from the upgrade, which isn't true of the attack. Roaches, Lings, and Banes up against just Lings and Banes. That hatchery already badly bruised from the confrontation earlier. A whole lot of Banes on the way through. Spine Crawlers, Dark pulling out all the stops. A counterattack of Zerglings. Queen's taking down an Overlord. Kind of a weird situation in the grand scheme of things. A whole lot of Banelings for Dark. He's using the Evo Chamber as a wall. He's getting the Spire again. Dark is down 40 supply. A lot of that is explained away by the Roaches, but not all. Banelings on either side. We're going to have to see how it shakes out. Dark out with Banes. The Spine Crawler's vulnerable to Banes themselves. Another wave coming through. Banes on both sides. Spine Crawler, back line of defense. Dark trying to hold. Dark needs to target more Banelings for Reynor. The Queen's helping out. The wrap around the back. Some of the Zerglings are keeping the Spines in range. Well, oh, more Banes. The Baneling Nest itself. The Roaches. Down goes the Baneling Nest. The Broodlings getting involved. More Banelings find their way through. Spine Crawler down for the count. But the backbone of Dark's defense intact. Reynor, okay. Everybody calm down. Dark is down. 40 supply. It looks bad, and it is bad. But it isn't over yet. The Ravager's going to help. Can't really afford to reposition this. Dark really wants to save up as much as possible for the Mutas. Even the drones drafted into action. Not the ideal unit to be fighting with. Especially after so many losses. And it looks like before the Mutas can even come out, Reynor will tie up the series 2-2. Ooh. We got a game. Reynor taking the reins of that match. And Dark just a little bit slow on every front. A messy conclusion. That made up for the lack of Ling Bane in most of the rest of the matches. Wasn't even really Ling Bane. It was kind of just Bane for some of it there. But wow, I'm not entirely sure exactly what to make of that. But what I do know is it's 2-2. And you know what that means? That means that apparently we have to thank our sponsors. So, don't go away. Don't pause or pause ad block or something like that. For a quick advertisement before match point. Hey everybody, I'm Winter, and do you love Overlords? I love Overlords. Reynor loves Overlords, Dark loves Overlords, but you should also love our corporate Overlords, because Google, who owns YouTube, would love it if you liked and subscribed. The algorithm, please feed it, it's so hungry. And on Amazon, our other favorite Overlord. With Prime Gaming, subscribe for free every month. Different subscribe, it's a little confusing. Not that confusing, do it now. Thank you guys for sticking around. I know ads are annoying and sometimes confusing, but we do eventually find our way back into the ace match. Into 2-2 between two of the best Zergs in the whole world. A rematch of the BlizzCon 2019 World Championship, where Dark did defeat Reynor. And he did it with somewhat relative ease. Wasn't easy, but it was pretty decisive. This series, not so much. We'll see. If you remember Cyril making Ultras, yes, the great debate on whether Ultras were the right choice or not, and whether we were denied Cyril winning another championship. I think Reynor, throughout the last few years, has proven his place. Not only in slaying Cyril, though very much so, but in how competitive he is. We're back to hatch first. Not a single actual... I don't even really count last game as an early pool. It was a pool first, but if your pool isn't before at least your first Overlord you build, of course you start out with one. But if your pool is not before your first Overlord, then it's not an early pool. It might be a pool first, but don't you dare try to call yourself an early pool. I'm not having it. Alright? A lot of people say, oh, pool first. Yes. Early pool? No. Okay. As a pool aficionado. Aficionado. Because pools have water, and water has fish sometimes, and that was a good joke. I stand by it. Unlike a fish, because it can't stand, because it doesn't have a spine. And neither do either of these players, because they're going for standard macro builds. Wait, maybe it does. Not important. Don't correct me. We're not here for that. Do fish have spine? Yeah. Maybe. Yes. But the Zerglings will meet. The Zerglings accosted in the bushes by other Zerglings. The Zerglings part ways. A tearful goodbye, but a necessary one. Ah, yes, of course. I had neglected to consider jellyfish, which are made of peanut butter. Fun fact. Prove me wrong. Thus, the sandwich, completing the whole saga. You've got peanut butter, you've got jelly, and you have sand, which makes the whole thing. Oh god, it's time to stop. Back to Zerglings and Banelings. Metabolic boost. For both sides. Very important. A Roach Warren for Reynor. Evolution Chamber. You can never be sure if it's going to actually be used. What? A Zergling died. Well, who has died? One Zergling per side. One sacrifice. For the greater good. And I bet, and I think, and I know Dark loves Mudas. And once again, Dark goes for an early lair. He gets a guess. I don't believe you. I don't believe that evil. I don't believe O Chamber. Stop. He's showing us the Roach Warren. He's showing us an Evo Chamber, and I think he wants to show Reynor that as well. But what's that I smell? Mutas! But Reynor is not... He's not going Mutas. Reynor is going to make a lot of roaches. He's really going to try to kill Dark. He's going to try to kill him real hard. As you might. You don't really want to half-ass it. You don't go by and you be like, you watch out. Eventually I'll have roaches. And you should be, no. You just try to kill him. Of course he's trying to kill him real hard. It's game 5. Spine Crawler's on the way. No time for the Mutilus Den. Even though Dark... oh, there it is. The Spire, but it's a long way off. This is gonna... Well, Reynor should know what this is. Reynor going for it here. The Spine Crawlers are not done. The Queens have to hold the line. The choke point, a bit asphyxiating. But he could bring the roaches through. Does he choose? It should be super obvious what this is from Dark. Wait, what's happening here? Well, a lot of Zerglings getting... That Roach's sacrifice, definitely not in vain. Buying a whole lot of time. Some Banelings at the back. Roach Warren goes down, kind of proving to Reynor that, yeah, it's definitely not roaches, and it can't be at this point. Dark gets as many roaches as possible out. Reynor being surprisingly careful about this. He knows 169% right now what this is. He knows it's Mutas. He doesn't have to see the Spire to understand what's happening. This is the most obvious Spire in the history. Like, this series has had 5 Spires from Dark, and this one is somehow the most obvious. So what does Reynor do, though? He's making more Queens. He's got a lair on the way, but the Mutas are already going to be in production before Reynor's lair finished. I'm really surprised Reynor didn't just go. The Spines weren't done. He could have gotten the Roaches in. I think he really wanted to make sure he wasn't overcommitting because he's already up a base. And when you're up a base against Mutas, you're not in nearly the position. And look at the supply. Look at it. Look! 50 supply lead for Reynor. But what does that matter? Very little. It lies. That number lies to you.
The numbers don't lie.
No. Yes, they do. Because Mutas are worth so much more, especially in this scenario. Just having these Mutas out on the field right now means Reynor he has no choice but to respect them. There's not going to be enough roaches. They're not going to get across the map quick enough. Dark double expanding here. This is probably the most even situation we've had with Mutas so far, out of several attempts. They've either been one way or the other, like Dark either winning or losing with them. But here, it's kind of a middle ground. I guess game 1 was a little... Brenda, why is there no creep between the two most obvious bases? What do you mean? You were supposed to bring the Red Bull. I have no energy. God damn it, Karen. So the Overlords are all taken down. Dark behind on drones, but the map control... Oh, here we go. The Knitting Crew on the attack. A little late. Not the quickest creatures. So the Mutas will be giving a constant and overwhelming deep tissue massage to all of the roaches. Reynor decides, oh wait, oh great, Zergling counterattack drags Reynor back for any amount of time. The Mutas will continue their best efforts, which are not very much, but they're something, in killing these roaches. Reynor is just kind of running over the bases and any drones that attempt to mine from them. You know how long it takes Mutas to kill 20 roaches? We're about to find out. We're still going on that. It looks like finally the roaches will be chipped away. And the thing is, Reynor still doesn't have an answer directly to them. He's got the queens. They have a lot of energy, but the Muta count is high enough that the queens aren't that much of an answer. In Dark, this is by no means game over for Dark. I can't stress how much the Mutas are going to control this game. Even that attack by Reynor was just him buying time so them. Why is there still no creep? Brenda! I can't. Just the lack of due diligence here. Any amount of damage the Mutas do is Dark drawing closer and closer because Reynor just can't attack. Hydras aren't going to solve it for a while. Queens aren't solving it now. At some point, there is the threat that Dark takes the rest of the map if Reynor doesn't respect the Mutas enough. Sure, we're a long way off. And the Lurker Den is to prevent Banelings from running over Hydras. I think Reynor puts together a full-on push at some point, but we're still pretty far off that point. Reynor only has +1 attack with no more upgrades besides the unit upgrades. Burrow for the Tunneling Claws. Always a fun one. You're going to have to go underneath the map in order to avoid the Mutas. Hopefully you can get those out before Dark actually notices they have the Tunneling Claws. There is a different look to them. As you see, the fancy roaches here. I'm pretty sure Dark, well, he should be realizing that. Getting a few free roaches. I don't know if he outright noticed. Still just leaning on the Mutas. Dark microing him so hard. Not all his drones are mining. The burrow move roaches just... Okay, alright. They're looking for something. They'll eventually get there. Yeah, more Overseers on the way. The Hydra count is high enough to be intimidating. Dark is upgrading +2 flyer attack. He's getting +1 melee. I think he may have canceled it either or lost it earlier. Uh-oh.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Well, the Hydra's on the way across the map. Reynor moving forward. He doesn't have a hive. These are not hive tech lurkers, so they haven't unlocked their full potential yet. They're still very dangerous to banelings. A couple lurkers can shut down all of the banelings if they come in the wrong or the right angle, depending on who you are. Hydras, lurkers. The banelings just going for it. They've gotten this far. They're going to go a little bit further. And all they need to do is isolate enough Hydras. And suddenly, wait a second, the Hydra's backed up against the wall. The acid splashes all over them. The roaches trying to shark their way through. The Mutas could kill the lurkers. Meanwhile, counterattack. 8 drones down. Reynor, his drone count evened up. The lurkers themselves could be targeted. More roaches going to work. Roach is going to kill a base out of Dark, and another one is vulnerable. But Reynor undercommitted and underestimated the amount of... I'm surprised it came to this. Hydras do not counter Mutas. I mean, they can, but it might seem like they do. The thing is, Mutas can fly. I know this might come as a shock, but that way they can isolate and kill groups of units. Hydras are forced to split on the ground. Their terrestrial bounds are their big vulnerability, on top of the fact they didn't have the upgrades. The Lurkers couldn't keep the Banelings far enough away for the Hydras to actually engage enough of the Mutas, or enough of the Hydras to engage the Mutas. So Dark can divide and conquer. So now Reynor's in... Remember when I said look at the supply? Well, look at it again! What is it now? Now it matters a little more. Because while Reynor... Well, this is what the Mutas do. They close the gap. They haven't yet surpassed it. Reynor did have the response, and he's still keeping pressure on. The burrow move roaches, getting damage done, and more importantly, dragging Mutas further and further back. Meanwhile, Hive just now began. Reynor was... That was almost all... It wasn't quite all in, but it was close to it. Reynor really wanted damage done there. He didn't need it, but next attack is going to be required. He needs damage done. Because Dark, he's stabilized. He's gotten enough upgrades for one. He's gotten enough mutas that anything but a committed attack or later game tech is going to be deadly. This many +2 mutas, unless the Hydras are all together or the Queens are with them, ideally both, or they're fighting on Spore Crawlers, which do approximately 5,000 damage to mutas. Reynor needs Vipers and Festers, or to find a great fight. And the mutas make it nearly impossible to find that great fight. And I think Reynor's going to be kicking himself for not committing harder on the early roach push, now that these mutas are... There's 35! I say, never counting that high in my life. 35 mutas! That is a murder of mutas! You're not supposed to get that many, because it's so vulnerable to Vipers, to Infestors. Well, guess what? Reynor don't have! Oh, but he's fighting on Spores. The Hydras and the Spores doing a lot of damage. Both sides taking terrible, terrible damage. The Spores, Lurkers being targeted. He's just got to take the Spores. Dark will win the fight. The Queen, run away, there's no creep here! Why didn't we learn our lesson the first time? God damn it, Susan! Where were the Queens? When we needed them most? The world may never know. But they vanished. They may have burrowed. I don't think so. The transfuses aren't enough. The mutas cut right through. Now, Reynor, Dark leveraging these mutas, taking a crowbar and prying open what looked to be a titanic lead from Reynor. Just jamming it in like an iceberg and sinking it. And suddenly, what was unthinkable and what was unsinkable is looking very much so. Dark is up 20 supply. He's got the mutas. But unfortunately now for the Italian Stallion, there's only one last hope. No, not the Age of Empires professional gamer. Instead, the Zerg unit. The Viper. Those parasitic bombs have the potential to outright kill mutas. They don't stack, but they do 120 or 125 damage. Mutas have 100 HP. I'm not a mathematician, but
the numbers don't lie, and they spell
Dark is still on lair tech. He's been on a tenuous economy. Now Reynor is the one who doesn't have to worry as much about the supply. He survived to Hive. Dark was this close. He was a couple Banelings and one base kill away. But the Queens sacrificed themselves eventually. And it was enough. Yeah, you don't want to consume your Baneling nest or your, well, you don't want to consume anything to death, but overconsumption, the death of the Zergs. But now Reynor has the late game unit composition. Now it's Dark who's on the clock. Now he's the one who either has to find a way to do damage or tech up. And I don't even know what you tech up to at this point. Like, are you also going to go Viper Lurker? It feels like that ship has sailed. To maintain the fish-related metaphors. Yes, we're back to that. Sink or swim with these parasitic bombs. The Muta's looking for an opportunity, but Reynor rather, is locked down. The Vipers have been scouted. Even getting up, he catches a few roaches. We're kind of trying out every Zerg unit here. We need, well, not really every Zerg unit, but it's super interesting to split. We got roaches, hydras, lurkers, and vipers up against Lingbane Muta. It's almost like a mech versus bio situation. In fact, it's very much like that. With your strong, like, later game efficiency units that lack mobility against the Zerg. One parasitic bomb could be game ending. Yeah, Dark, it's over. No more Lings, Banes, and Mutas. It ain't gonna happen. Dark needs to figure out something else now. The time has, thankfully for Reynor, passed. He got the Hive, he got the Vipers. If Dark continues down... Oh. That had to be a bait. There's no way that wasn't a bait. There's no way Reynor wasn't doing that on purpose. Maybe someday we'll go back and see if Reynor was staring at those Vipers, waiting for him to try. Because it was so... That, like... There's no way he leaves the Vipers there. He's just waiting for the Mutas to get a little too close. And they did, and he lost a couple Mutas. And immediately turned him around. Well, Dark must counterattack. He cannot fight this army heads up. 16 lurkers! That's about 12 too many right now. Dark is supply blocked. And his strong mid-game is looking obsolete. Reynor is now maxed out, despite dipping, losing a nearly 50 supply lead, but for reasons you might expect. Dark doesn't really have the... He's got a nice amount of drones, but it's not an overwhelming number. Brenda, what are you... Ah! Random Queen. He doesn't have enough drones to play 300 supply Zerg. He can't just immediately rebuild all those Lings and Banes. Reynor's not so much Death Ball, but... spiky ring collar of... No, it's getting weird. Okay, it wasn't weird before, it's weird now. The lurkers shredding through. And there's nothing to stop them. The Muta's already bruised, whittled down in number. Where did the Vipers go? There's still 5 Vipers. Where are the Vipers, actually? Reynor! 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 Now's the time for the Vipers! Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! And when he needed them most, they vanished. Whoa, Reynor! Yo! This all kind of depended on the Vipers being here. Oh, the Vipers show up. They're a little late. Also, the Mutas are mostly dead already. The Zerglings are in the main. It's a mess across the board. The thing is, Reynor's already done a lot of damage. But what could have been a game-ending attack is now still good. That was still good. But Reynor lost a lot of drones, especially for someone who had 50. And he doesn't have many more mineral patches. Dark maintains an income advantage. If he had 1 Viper there, I think Reynor just wins the game. But where were the Vipers? They were at home, sleeping. They were tired, out of energy, except they had energy. They're lying, okay? They're just lazy. The lazy Vipers show up to the party, though, and Reynor is still ahead on supply, and most of that is army. This should be a deadly move. Parasitic bomb. Terrible, terrible damage. All over the Mutas. Another parasitic bomb. The Hydra's taking everything out, +1 attack. But the unit composition is far too strong, and Reynor reclaims his supply lead. He takes it all the way back across the map. He puts it all together and puts a 3rd match across the finish line. Reynor holds. It looked a little dicey. It looked a little close for comfort. And what went from a strong opening to a dangerous mid-game, back to a strong late game, to a dangerous late game. Dark can't pull this one out of his stylish hat. And instead, Reynor will defeat the man who defeated him and move on. A dramatic series, to say the least. I think that last game a little closer than the rest combined. The Mutas do not win the day. Reynor holds with his lurkers. Congratulations. Thank you to ESL and Intel Extreme Masters, of course, for sending it out. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, ring the bell. We're not sure what it does, but it's probably good. We know about those overlords. Check out these videos. Wow, that one. That's my favorite. And maybe yours. Thank you for watching. Good luck and have fun.